Welcome, welcome, welcome to church this morning. My name is Tom Reeves, and I'm filling in for Reverend Kleber Van Zandt this morning, and I'm a member of the audio-visual team here at UCOV, the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Venice. At UCOV, we strive to be a beacon of liberal religion for Florida's Sun Coast and a refuge for all who seek a welcoming community. No matter your color, creed, ability, or class, no matter who you love, your gender expression, political affiliation, or religious belief. Here we celebrate our differences as we learn from one another. If you'd like to know more about this congregation and its many opportunities for learning, growth, and connection, you can peruse our calendar and announcements on Facebook or on our webpage at uucov.org. And please, if you're watching on YouTube, remember to like this video by hitting the thumbs up icon below. Leave us a note in the comments section and click the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. Also, please consider going to our website, clicking the donate button there, and giving as generously as you can. We're glad you've chosen to join us, and we hope you'll find something in this service that speaks to you and maybe lifts you up or challenges you in ways that lead to spiritual reflection and personal growth. Welcome to church today. The prelude is Minuetto by Domenico Scarlatti and is played by our music director, Dr. Marcel Leonard. The prelude begins our worship. Our call to worship comes from an ancient rabbi, Hillel the Elder. If I am not for myself, who will be for me? If I am only for myself, what am I? And if not now, when? Let us worship together. Our hymn is number 114, Forward Through the Ages, the first verse only.
Service, one sure reward. Forward through the ages in unbroken line, move the faithful spirits at the call divine.
Let us join together in a spirit of meditation as we begin with a Memorial Day prayer from retired Unitarian Universalist minister, the Reverend Barbara Pescan. Spirit of life, whom we have called by many names in thanksgiving and in anguish, bless the poets and those who mourn. Send peace for the soldiers who did not make the wars, but whose lives were consumed by them. Let strong trees grow above graves far from home. Breathe through the arms of their branches. The earth will swallow your tears while the dead sing, "No more, never again, remember me." For the wounded ones, and for those who receive them back, let there be somebody ready when the memories come, when the scars pull and the buried metal moves, and forgiveness for those of us who were not there for our ignorance. And in us, veterans in a forest of 1,000 fallen promises, let new leaves of protest grow out our stumps. Give us the courage to answer the cry of humanity's pain, and with our bare hands, out of full hearts, with all our intelligence, let us create peace. We lift up those in this community who face change, challenge, or loss, as we hold within our hearts all who suffer. And now we pray, each in our own ways, into the silence. The hopes of this community are offered forth in the names of all those who have gone before, and in the names of all those who will come after, in the names of all the helpers of mankind. Shalom, salam, amen, and blessed be. Following the interlude, the sermon will be the second in a series by Reverend Aaron White, Associate Minister of First Unitarian Church of Dallas, Texas. It is titled, "The Future of Unitarian Universalism." The first sermon we played 2 weeks ago. And our interlude is "Tomorrow's Another Day" by Forte.
My love, rest into me, folded in my arms. You have slaved the day away, relax into the calm. A healing time beneath the stars, sleep your worries away. And I will keep you safe tonight. By your side I'll stay. Take it easy, slow right down when life gets in the way. Things will be better come the dawn. Tomorrow's another day. If rain doesn't fall, there is no rainbow. the sun dries the land. Choose tonight to let it go, and know I'll hold your hand. I'll be right here through thunder and storm, holding you through the pain. Sadness is part of everyone, but you'll be happy again. Take it easy, slow right down, when life gets in the way. Things will be better come the dawn, tomorrow's another day. Take it easy, slow right down, when life gets in the way. Things will be better come the dawn, tomorrow's another day. Take it easy, slow right down, when life gets in the way. Things will be better come the dawn, tomorrow's another day.
So one summer when I was in seminary, I was doing training to be a hospital chaplain, and I found myself one summer day on the 11th floor of Mass General Hospital, sitting on the ground in the dark, testing out my Spanish with a patient for the very first time. Jay was an elderly man, a Spanish speaker, who had just experienced a very serious stroke. And he could barely speak, and the little that he could say, I had to strain to understand. My medical and religious vocabulary in Spanish was worse than it is now, and I had trouble speaking in anything but the present tense. But there's one thing that he said that I know I understood. Jesus was in the room. When he told me that, I stopped and looked at him and said, Jesus is in the room with us? And he took my hand and he pointed to a space above his head and then across the room and then above my head and said, yes, he is. He's right there. And I took this story of our visit back to my reflection group with my colleagues and other chaplains, and I was recounting this story, and I remember there was a colleague of mine from another faith who could never seem to get his mind wrapped around exactly what I believed or didn't believe as a Unitarian Universalist. And so he asked me if I believed that the man I saw that day saw Jesus in the room. And then he asked me if I saw God in the room that day. And I remember at the time that my reactive Aaron Defines Unitarian Universalism self came out. I was about to go into my usual rambling, boring rant about how all religious terminology is really made up of finite signs and symbols that signify a larger, luminous reality that none of us can ever explain. And I certainly have no claims about epistemology in this case to define what this man saw or didn't, and even if I did, I couldn't speak for every Unitarian Universalist, of course. And then I stopped, and for some reason something made me just say, yeah. You see, we were already talking in translation. Last week in our services, we tried to provide a very basic overview in the content of one sermon of all Unitarian Universalist practices, history, and theology. Impossible, but try to do our best. We encountered the Unitarians, one half of our religious heritage. These were Christians of their time who affirmed the unity of God and the humanity of Jesus, the goodness of human beings, and the need to use reason when we approach religion and religious texts. The other half of that heritage were the Universalists, the people whose church bells were said to ring out, "No hell, no hell, no hell." They believed that all of creation would eventually be in harmony with the divine. That religion was not about getting people into heaven, but getting heaven onto the earth and including as many people as possible in the circles of concern. One of our most famous ministers was a man named Thomas Starr King, and he was both a Unitarian and a Universalist minister in the 1800s at different times. And he put it this way: the Universalists believe that God is too good to damn them, while the Unitarians believe that they are too good to be damned. We didn't inherit any of that, did we? So this week we're going to try and talk just a little bit about how we try and explain that kind of church to people when they ask. And it's not the easiest thing in the world. Maybe like me in my moments during my time in seminary, you've had times in your life where it was difficult for you to explain Unitarian Universalism to somebody when they asked. I said last week that we're not a creedal church. A creedal church is one where membership is defined by you saying that you believe in a shared affirmation of faith. We are a covenantal church. Our membership is based on the promises that we make to one another about how we're going to live. We don't have one statement of belief that we repeat and memorize. But to be honest with you, I don't think that's why it's hard for our people to talk about our church with others. If it was as simple and easy as having a statement that we could all memorize and repeat, we would have fixed that problem a long time ago. To be honest with you, I think the reason why we have trouble talking about our church with others is that our people disproportionately carry religious baggage that would fit on no airplane. Many of us have not actually left the religion that we left before we got here and carry it with us into our interactions, and we know that we've experienced the kind of evangelism and proselytizing that we would inflict on no other human. But I think that we have let our baggage about organized religion and expression make us think that proselytizing is the same thing as simply talking about your church, especially when someone asked you to talk about your church. I think if it actually matters to us, it doesn't matter what faith you are, it's hard to talk about this because it is a huge risk to my ego and my emotional life and my sense of self and having everything all tidy and perfect for my presentation to people when I start having an honest conversation about things that actually matter. When I talk to a stranger about moments of gratitude that made me have tears. When I tell a family member about the work we do for justice because what I see in the world breaks my heart, or when I try and describe in words this congregation, which I know has loved me in my best and worst moments. Sometimes secretly what I'm thinking is, I'm so scared you won't believe me. Talking about our faith and this kind of open, expansive living tradition is not just about adding members to our church membership rolls. We're talking about human beings. If you believe that this is a worthwhile place and it's benefited your life and it's a benefit to the world, then every single human being who would benefit by it deserves to have heard about it. I was a religion major in college and didn't know about Unitarian Universalism. That's a problem. It took one person inviting me to church for the first time. She's in the room today. Hello. I know that the course of my life would be different if she hadn't, because no one else bothered to tell me. It seems very stingy for me that any of us in the room would think, this is the best religious community I could ever find. I'm never going to tell another person about it. And I think that laughter comes from the acknowledgement that we do that. Every so often, Daniel and I get asked to offer people what's called our elevator speech about our church. You've heard this before. It's a definition of our religion that's short enough to be given on an elevator ride. And none of these are perfect. We can't say everything at once. We're always talking in translation. But when somebody asks me who's wanting to know about our church for the first time, I usually tell them that we believe people experience God in many ways. All people are worthy of love just as they are, and religion is about building a loving world here on earth together. It's not perfect, and I know that definition does not fit every single person in this room at every time, but it's a start. And it's an acknowledgement that we can't say everything at once. If people ask you about this place and you want to craft your own answer, I have a few points of advice. Take them or leave them. The first is to give them an answer that is positive and clear, that is in the religious language of the person who asked you. Does that make sense? If someone asks you a God question, don't give them a not God answer. If someone asked you a question in Spanish, you wouldn't likely respond in Mandarin. But so often people ask us what we think of God, and we give them the answer. Oh, God. All they wanted to know was what we thought about God, and we could have said, well, historically we've thought God is best expressed in love, but we can talk more later. Instead of trying to say everything at once. Second, I think that it's important when we answer people to give them concrete ways that being a part of this tradition has benefited our lives. Funny enough, I found that most people seem more interested in things that seem like they matter to me. And third, I think it's always important to include an invitation. If someone asks you, please tell me more about your church, and then you tell them that it's a wonderful place where everyone would benefit, and you don't invite them, it sounds like you don't want them there. Especially when they asked you. When people ask us to tell them about where we have found our community of faith, we don't have to apologize by answering them. I got to practice my own version of this a couple of years ago at a Unitarian Universalist summer camp in Oklahoma. We were gathered at a state park in Oklahoma, a few hundred Unitarian Universalists, and one night, one of the bartenders who worked at the lodge overheard a group of Unitarian Universalist ministers talking about religion. I remember she was a young woman in her early 20s who was studying at community college in a small town in Oklahoma. She told me that after hearing our clergy talk about our religion, she wanted to know more. So she went online and Googled Unitarian Universalism, and she found the national website of our association. And she told me that what she read made absolutely no sense to her. She said that what she found on that website seemed to be trying to appeal to everybody at the same time, and she couldn't get a feel for who we actually were and where we actually came from. And so I gave her my version. I told her, well, we came out of historic branches of Christianity that cared a lot more about love and justice for everybody than individuals getting into heaven. And now we take that history and its stories seriously, but not literally. We believe that God is too big to fit into any one religion, and people have many names for what is good. We believe that you can do tremendous good with your life if you are willing to serve others, and you will find happiness there. We believe that every single human being walking on this planet, every single human being living in this moment and who's ever lived and will ever live, has value and deserves love, including you. And that we believe religion is about organizing to build a better world. And if you'd like to find a good Unitarian Universalist church close to you, I'm happy to help. And I remember, clear as day, she leaned over one of her textbooks that she was studying, over the bar, and said, "Why didn't they just put that on the website?" This is not about just adding numbers to our rolls. This is about ensuring that people who need a community of love and justice find it while there is still time. Now, I believe that in order for our faith to continue to have a vibrant future, and we've had a vibrant past, we helped build this country, and we were at the forefront of the social movements to abolish slavery and work for women's suffrage and civil rights and gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender equality in this country, and we still have work to do. We have been a vibrant part of the American landscape. But to continue to be so, I think all of us in the room are going to have to be willing to do a few things. This is not an exhaustive list by any means, but it's a start. We have to know what liberal religion is and what it isn't before we start talking about it to other people. We have to be willing to be changed by a place that we say is powerful enough to change the world. And we have to be willing to articulate this place to others in ways that are compelling and understandable, and it has to be both. So what is liberal religion and what is it not? I know that it's confusing because of that title, but liberal religion is not synonymous with liberal politics. That word liberal there is a theological designation that's been used for many years. It defines a religion which believes that there is more truth to be found, more truth waiting for us to discover. And all liberal religions believe that their members are compelled to work for justice, that our hands and feet must do the work of building beloved community. And we're not the only liberal religion. I have to tell you that I believe, although we don't say enough, that there is room for political diversity. That's my boy. There's room for political diversity in what we call a liberal faith, and please don't let anyone tell you that there's not. We have to remember that we have had a Republican president on our rolls. I believe that it is arrogant and self-serving for us to repeat any more that Unitarian Universalism is a religion for Democrats with a college education. It's not true, and it's limiting, and it shuts people out whose lives would be changed for the better by this place. I've heard it said, but I do not believe that this religion is set aside for really only a small percentage of the population who would ever get us. Really? The idea that God is not fully known to us and everybody deserves love and we have to work to build a better world? Those are ideas that PhDs and dock workers and mechanics and bartenders and landscapers and teachers and social workers and everybody else can understand. At one time, Universalism was the 5th biggest religion in the United States. However, just because we have diversity of opinion does not mean that we cannot make statements clearly about how the world should be ordered. This is also a misunderstanding of our faith, the idea that because we have variety of belief, we will not make a stand and take a stand on important issues. Remember that story from James Luther Adams' church where the people in his congregation who disagreed with desegregation were saying, "You can't make us support desegregation in this church. That would be a creed, and we don't have creeds." A creed is a shared affirmation of faith to which you must adhere to be a member of a religious organization. It is not anything the minister says that you disagree with. Right? Point of privilege. Sorry. We have to know what it is and what it isn't if we're going to explain it to others. Also, I think for this faith to have a vibrant future and change the world, we're going to have to admit that it's going to change us too. I can only imagine in the tension in that room that night, where they're up till 1:30 in the morning asking, what is the purpose of this church? What is the purpose of this church? And finally the man courageously said, the purpose of this church is to get a hold of people like me and change them. I think it is so easy for us to walk into this place and believe that we know exactly who it is that needs to be changed. And usually it's not us. If we believe that this faith is powerful enough to change the world, it's probably going to ask something of us. Any relationship that only wants your money and doesn't ask something deeper is a consumer commodity. And church is surely not that. And finally, for this place to have a vibrant voice and a vibrant future, you are going to have to be its voice. Not only the people who are paid to do it. When we offer up an explanation of what this faith is to people, we have to be able to give them answers that are compelling and understandable. It means that we realize we're always talking in translation and we can't say everything all at once, and that we answer questions people are asking about our lives. It means we don't tell them what we're not. People can get what we're not anywhere we aren't. People can get to go not to those other churches anywhere except those other churches, right? A compelling invitation to this place promises that if you commit to it, your life will be better and the world will be better. And I think there is room for us in the religious landscape of the 21st century. More and more people are departing from organized religion. The category of no religion is increasing faster than any in the United States. We should be the most vibrant religion in America. And yet we have as many members today as we did in 1961 when the Unitarians and the Universalists merged. The good news is that every other mainline denomination has purged members, has hemorrhaged its membership rolls since then. We should be the most vibrant and relevant voice in this age and time. Look at the world that we live in. It's polarized beyond what many of us could imagine. And we're told that our identity is consumers. That our job on this earth is to buy and hoard as much as we possibly can. And we are asked to understand who we are by political labels that are far too small, and local loyalties and adherence to our own ideologies and loyalties that usually benefit somebody else. And it's easy to feel isolated and overwhelmed in our day and age, and nobody has to navigate these waters alone. Ours is not a perfect church. It has its mistakes. But our reading this morning said that we are bigger than our mistakes. And I promise you that when somebody asks you to explain this church, you're not going to have the perfect answer. And it's going to have to be in translation. And it will never be exactly what the person in front of you understands or agrees with. But we can say with confidence that we believe that God is too big for any one religion to own, and that all human beings are worthy of love, and that we can build a just and loving world right now together. Perhaps this is the religious congregation for you. Maybe it's not. But if you have found a group of people who help you live well, tell somebody. Because remember, when people actively ask you about your church or your beliefs, their implicit question is this: what evidence do you have that my life is meaningful and will make a difference? And am I included in your answer? No matter what answer you give them, our friends, may it be a worthy one. Best of luck. Amen.
Our hymn is number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Lonely Place, led here on his ukulele by Steve Doublestein, the first verse.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
A benediction from John Morgan. In the end, it won't matter how much we have, but how generously we have given. It won't matter how much we know, but rather how well we live. And it won't matter how much we believe, but how deeply we love. Happy Memorial Day. We are remembering those who have fallen in battle defending the promise of our country to be a leader in democracy and freedom. We are remembering those who have given of themselves in the struggle for justice and fairness. We are remembering those who have so freely given of themselves that we may all live our lives more thoroughly and more lovingly. May we all celebrate this Memorial Day. Go in peace, walk softly on your paths, and may the light of love shine on you all your days. Our postlude is Capriccio by Domenico Scarlatti, played by Dr. Marcel Leonard.